These horror movies reinvented classic monsters. Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Film Dive. While the stars of classics in the Universal Monsters series might be scary icons, an old favorite never goes out of style, and many of these creepy characters have been remade and reimagined for new audiences. They might have a new coat of paint, but they're still the creeps and creatures fans know and love. In this video, we'll take a look at these reinvented classic monsters. Stay tuned. The Thing from Another World. It's surprising just how many people forget that the John Carpenter classic, The Thing, is actually a remake of a 1950s sci-fi horror movie. While 1982's version definitely terrified audiences with its scary practical effects and sense of suspicion and terror, the original was the film that coined the phrase, "Watch the skies." Both versions are full of suspense, but where audiences in the 80s were more terrified of a shape-shifting monster, those of the 50s dreaded the effects of nuclear war, unknown experiments, and science gone haywire. Fans still have many questions about The Thing, but either way, it's easy to see which one remained a classic. The Invisible Man. Fans looking for a blatant reimagining of a classic monster have fewer films that hit the nail squarely on the head than that of 2020's The Invisible Man. What began life as a sci-fi horror movie involving a scientist, a formula, and an unfortunate lab accident became a terrifying psychological thriller. It's hard to fight what can't be seen, and Elizabeth Moss certainly had her work cut out for her when her abusive ex discovers a way to make himself invisible. Drawing more from films like Hollow Man than the H.G. Wells novel, the mad scientist's motives are exchanged for a story that borders on the slasher genre. Edge of Sanity. Jekyll and Hyde. This movie might not be the most shining example of a reimagining, but it does give an original flavor to the Jekyll and Hyde mythos. The classic gothic horror story is given a dose of reality by exchanging Dr. Jekyll's potion with hard drugs and the persona of Edward Hyde with Jack the Ripper. From scientist to psychopath, the film presents the battle between the two personalities as a fight for life and sanity, rather than the duality of man. To call this tale twisted would be putting it delicately. Depraved. Frankenstein. Depraved is a near-perfect example of a horror movie classic brought to the modern era. An obvious take on the tale of Frankenstein, the reinterpretation of Shelley's iconic novel is more of a cautionary tale directed towards science than a monster-centric horror story. While Adam is an excellent stand-in for Frankenstein's monster, the use of more medically focused imagery and motifs definitely give the film an unexpectedly effective sense of reality. It's still the classic mad scientist story, but with a more polished presentation. The Horror of Dracula. Dracula. Francis Ford Coppola wasn't the first to reinvent the Count with the 1992 movie Bram Stoker's Dracula, nor was he the last. But if fingers are to be pointed at one of the most memorable Dracula reinventions, the honor goes to Hammer. The Horror of Dracula makes the list due to the fact that it takes more from the 1931 Universal film than it does the novel. To call Christopher Lee's interpretation a remake of the Bela Lugosi version wouldn't be a stretch, but it certainly has a lot more gore and spectacle than its American cousin. Of course, if a studio is truly going to remake Dracula, it needs to go all out on the gore. The Shape of Water. Creature from the Black Lagoon. Now, although the idea that Guillermo del Toro remade the Creature from the Black Lagoon with The Shape of Water is up for debate, there's no denying that the amphibian man pulled direct influence from the original river-dwelling monster. Resemblance aside, they are both gill-bearing river monsters found in the Amazon. They're captured by a team of scientists, and someone gets bit after provoking them. Del Toro might have had a more romantic angle in mind with The Shape of Water, but the connection between the two is still painfully obvious. Sleepy Hollow. The Headless Horseman. An honorable mention, but Sleepy Hollow earns it on two accounts. Tim Burton's adaptation of Washington Irving's original isn't just a reimagining of the classic story, but of another arguably more famous interpretation as well. Those familiar with both films will catch references to Disney's version of Ichabod Crane's fateful midnight ride. The sequence where Crane is riding home across the bridge followed by his encounter with a false headless horseman uses several visual and sound cues pulled right from the Disney adaptation. It's enough to make one wonder what Britain would do with a by-the-book film adaptation. Nonetheless, Disney's Sleepy Hollow is arguably the most accurate telling of the story. So, those were some of the movies that reinvented classic monsters. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching!